Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be looking at the fact that it broke through the 21-day EMA. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So Bitcoin has climbed back up to 33.5K. From a local bottom of just shy of 29K. So we saw a pretty nice dump over the last couple days or so. And one of the things we discussed that's, it's sort of interesting to watch are these shorter term moving averages, right? And the reason is because we know that historically speaking, when Bitcoin bounces off the 20-day, it can actually get a pretty nice bounce, and it can go up another 10, 15%, even more if you measure it from, say, the bottom of a wick, which could go below those levels. But from the actual level here, you might see a 10, 15% move or so. And we've seen that many times. We've seen bounces off the 20-day many times where it then trends back up 10 to 15%. But the opposite is not necessarily true. We said that just because it breaks below the 20-day moving average or the 21-day EMA, it does not necessarily mean that then Bitcoin has to capitulate. It does not necessarily mean that. And a great example is this move over here. You can see that we came down to the 20-day and also the 21-day EMA, bounced back up. Then we ultimately broke below the 20-day moving average and below the 21-day, and we were still able to recover. So the idea that we can't recover is simply not true, right? We simply do not know. But the first thing to say is we did not hold the 20-day, and therefore we did not get that immediate bounce back up, maybe say 10 to 15% from that level. Which could have taken us, potentially back to 40K at the time if we had, managed to hold it as support. However, we know that we did not accomplish that, and therefore we got a subsequent move back down. But again, we've seen these types of things before, and you cannot draw too many conclusions from breaking below. Let me show you what I mean. There's plenty of times in the past where we hold it as support, and then instead of holding it as support the next time, we break below it, and then we just enter into, say, an accumulation phase where it's not necessarily bullish and trending up, but it's also not necessarily bearish and trending down. Instead, it's just oscillating around that point. So far, and then earlier, right, a few weeks ago, back in early December, we discussed this. We held it as support. We saw a nice move up. Then we came below it, and we said, okay, it's not necessarily the end of the road. It could just be that we enter into some sideways movement. And we did for a little bit, but it honestly didn't even last that long, and we were back off to the races. So now we're looking at it. Obviously, this is a pretty significant dump. We have not had a 30% dump in a while, so it was interesting to see that. But now looking at it, you can see that we are approaching the 21-day EMA. And if you're curious as to where that is, the 21-day EMA is at 34,134, and the 20-day SMA is at 36,084. Now let's go back in time and find a place where we dumped below it, but then ultimately did not recover. And let's see what happened. Okay, so we're going to come all the way back. Here's a good example. So here's an example where we held it over here. Ultimately, we broke below, and then we kept getting rejected by the 20-day SMA, and here you can see it again. We kept getting rejected all the way down. This was that major capitulation we had because we topped out around 10.5. We came back up to it here at around 10K. We came back up to it again around 9K or 9,200, and then we ultimately capitulated. So what you should keep an eye on, and again, none of this is financial advice, and to some degree, looking at short-term moving averages is somewhat of a waste of time. But it's crypto. We're here to waste some time. So one of the things we can talk about is, well, can we get above these levels, right? Can we actually get above these levels and establish that this is not necessarily the start of a longer term bear trend, right? A sustained correction, if you will. So those current prices, the 20-day SMA is at 36,000, and the 21-day EMA is just over 34,000. So note, though, that by the time we get to this level, unless we go to it, say, in the next day or two, this is probably going to start curving a little bit more. Okay, and eventually it'll start coming back down if we continue to print candles well below it. So look out to see if in fact we can move above those levels, because if you see us start to, like let's suppose something like this happens where we get some candles, it takes us up, ultimately we just keep getting rejected back down. And let's say that the moving average does something like that, and then we keep coming up to it and we keep getting rejected back down. Obviously, this would be a little bit more cause for concern in terms of the fact that we don't seem to have any momentum to break through back into an immediate bullish trend. However, the other scenario, right? There's always three scenarios. It goes up, it goes down, or it goes sideways. So if it goes down, then there's going to be pushes back up on the way, right? In the same manner that things don't go up monotonically, they don't go down monotonically, historically speaking. So even if you do get moves to the downside, you're going to have these relief rallies where we might come back up to try to see, hey, is it over? Can we break through or not? So even if we were heading down, we probably would come back up occasionally to test it. Now, if it goes sideways for a month or something, then it would essentially make us just oscillate around that moving average, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Right, that's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of the price implications of Bitcoin. It did have a really impressive move over 3 or 4 months. So moving sideways at this level would not necessarily be a bad thing, and I would not consider that to, as we necessarily be bearish if we can establish some sideways movement. So we're in one of those times where right now we're below all these things, and we have not established yet whether we're going to be able to come back above it and go sideways, or just blow through it and continue our trend altogether. So the reason we're looking at this is because we talk about a lot of other coins on the channel as well, and obviously they are very much subject to Bitcoin's price movements. If Bitcoin is unable to get above these moving averages and it keeps trending down, for weeks, then quite likely altcoins will not do so well in that time period. If it's a slow bleed, though, in the short term, a lot of coins could still do well. One of the things you can look at is that it has been trending down, right? The price of Bitcoin has been trending down. We had our high here was around 42K, then we had 40K, or 41.4. Here was 40K or so, and we've continued to trend down so far. And despite the fact that it's been trending down, it has not precluded a lot of altcoins for to put in significant gains, because Bitcoin's peak was on January 8th, and a lot of coins didn't really start moving until the beginning of January. So even in the event that Bitcoin does dump back down to the more into the $20,000 range, if it takes it a while to do it, then it still could be a lot of opportunities for other coins in the market. So things are certainly interesting right now. Bitcoin has had a major move to the upside. It came down, it held the 20-day back up, came down, tried to hold it, ultimately did, and dumped below. And now we're in that phase of, okay, are we going to start holding these things as resistance? Right, which would probably not be good. Or can we at the very least get above them and establish that at the very least we might be heading sideways for a while? So those are the different options. It can go up, down, or sideways. This takes a lot of insight, of course. Anyways, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Also, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. And again, we also have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. You get access to a whole lot of content there. Make sure you guys check it out if you're looking for more content than you get access to on the public channel. So remember, predicting short-term moves, in my opinion, is not something that is time well spent. It's a random walk. It's hard to really know what will happen. What's more important, in my opinion, is how you react to it. You weigh the various risks associated with your entry into the market. If you find that it's worth the risk, then you live with the consequences, whether that's good or bad. So none of this is financial advice. We'll see where Bitcoin takes us over the next few days. See if, in fact, we can get back above these levels, or if we keep getting hammered back down. Make sure you guys subscribe. Let's go for 100,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.